A new video just surfaced from El Alamo, Sinaloa, and it's one of the most disturbing messages ever sent in. Mexico's cartel war. A young Los Chapitos' hitman, barely in his 20s, stands over a pile of decomposing remains, laughing and taunting Elmo Zambada's men. A few years ago, this would be taken as cartel folklore, but today that's video. Proof of a faction inside the Sinaloa Cartel declaring war on its own and on the U.S. government. Let's break down how it all started and where experts fear it. We'll go. The clip opens in southern Sinaloa under the scorching sun. A young Sicario, his face half covered by a chapa bandana, crouches beside several bodies already decaying. He's completely calm as he mocks the rival faction known as La Maiza, aka the Loyalists of El Mayo. Zambada. This isn't shock value for its own sake. It's not even threatening the rival faction. It's psychological warfare at its worst. A proof of dominance meant to humiliate Mayo's men publicly and spread through Telegram and Instagram in minutes. The hitman, who goes by J-Ro, was reportedly recruited for Veracruz. He's one of dozens of young men seduced by Los Chapitos' flashy lifestyle online. Remember how El Chapo's sons changed the Sinaloa game by openly flashing their blood money? Well, now most of El Chapo's sons are either dead or in federal prison. Two Chapitos are facing lifelong sentences in U.S. prisons, and they're currently working on a plea deal that may help them avoid that. This was the first and now likely the last joint appearance by the two sons of El Chapo, who are in federal custody. A video and Joaquin Guzman Lopez have been in talks now for quite some time about that possible plea in their cases. The brothers were taken into federal custody. A video in 2023, Waken in 2024, as part of a massive crackdown on drug cartels by the U.S. federal government. But the appeal of their luxurious lifestyle did not go away with their arrests. That's why Droco's now deleted. Instagram showed the same gold chains, rifles, and designer sneakers. His last video, though, showed heads. This video was posted together with another short, one where Guerrero is taunting the same men before the actual execution. In a disturbing twist, he also asks the men why they worked for El Mio's faction in the first place. That's when one of the men says El Mio promised him money and education for his kids, none of which he'd actually gotten at the time of the video. It's a brutal irony. These men lost their lives over empty promises, trusting the word of a famous criminal. And the man holding the gun is now a ghost hunted by both the authorities and the very cartel that made him famous for a week. Locals say the video was filmed in El Alamo, a key territory near Mazatlan, long considered safe ground for Mayo's people. Not anymore. Within hours, multiple firefights broke out in the region, signaling that this was a declaration of open war between two branches of what used to be the same empire. What's worse, this war isn't just about drugs or revenge. It's about control of a collapsing kingdom. Here's how deep that fracture inside Sinaloa has become. This September video was a symptom of something far larger, an implosion inside Mexico's most powerful cartel. One mass Sicario said this on camera at the beginning of the year. Push percent. It's just getting started. One of the parties has to die for it to end. One of either side has to die. There has to be a winner. He wasn't kidding. The internal Sinaloa war has gotten worse and worse every month. One of the two has to prevail. They are attracting large numbers. The government is sending soldiers. This is just the beginning. It's going to be long. We don't know how long. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, maybe we'll go on for a long time. And now it's threatening to boil over into the U.S. like never before. For decades, the Sinaloa Cartel was held together by two men, Wayne El Chapo Guzman and his right hand, Ismael Mayo Zambada. But after Chapo's capture and extradition, that alliance cracked wide open. Now Chapo's sons, Los Chapitos, have turned their father's legacy into a weapon against El Mio's old guard. A civil war is raging in North Mexico. Two factions are vying for control of the Sinaloa Cartel, once Mexico's mightiest, now weakened by the conflict. The two sides, Los Chapitos, sons of notorious drug trafficker Hain El Chapo Guzman and Los Mayos. They've been battling out for 9 months now, and the once prospering cities in that part of Mexico are suffering just the same. Now both sides appear to have got their intel and are going after the others. Operatives and safe houses like this. 1. It's turning into a straight-out firefight. Both sides are now bombing safe houses, burning convoys, and executing defectors. On camera, ordinary residents say the gunfire never stops. Only the name's on. The bodies change. DEA analysts told News Nation that this new generation isn't just more violent, it's more connected. All right, now to the southern border, where Mexican cartels are evolving and expanding their criminal activities. A new report from the DEA indicates cartels are stealing oil and extorting mining firms as a new alliance between a major cartel and the sons of El Chapo seems poised to disrupt the balance of power among the criminal cartels. That expansion is fueled by Los Chapitos' obsession with image. Their hitmen like Cairo broadcast their crimes online for likes and fear, turning executions into propaganda clips. It's cartel warfare, repackaged for social media. One Sinaloa operative told Al Jazeera, "In this business, even the worst enemy can be your ally when it's convenient." That sentence says everything. The old codes of loyalty are gone. In their place comes survival, ego, and algorithms. This is the evolution of organized crime, and the mutations it's about to unleash will rewrite Mexico's entire map. When Los Chapitos began losing ground in Culiacan and Durango, their desperation forced them into something once unthinkable. Some would call it a handshake with hell itself. A leaked video circulating across Mexican Telegram channels showed armed men swearing allegiance not just to La Capiza, but to El Mino's cartel, Jalisco Nova Jenner. Recently, a video of a fallen of gunmen proclaiming that the Chapitos faction has allied with the Jalisco New Generation cartel, the country's other producing job. For years, CJNG and the Sinaloa Cartel were sworn enemies. They butchered each other's people, bombed convoys, and turned cities into war zones. Yet, according to the DEA, what we're seeing now is a strategic mutation, a truce, born from sheer necessity. This Sicario spoke to a reporter about what this means. Look, an alliance is being prepared between them. They're going to start dividing up their territory, saying, "You know what? I won't fight you for that area, but now you support me here." The Chapitos were bleeding manpower too. Elmo's Miza faction losing convoys and labs under relentless military raids. Meanwhile, CJNG was losing control in Mishoken after a wave of federal air strikes. So a deal was struck. The Chapatito gained access to Jalisco's Gulf smuggling corridors and chemical suppliers, while Alino's faction received shared use of Sinaloa's Pacific Coast and superlabs. The DEA says not only are they harder to fight now, but all looks like Mincho playing cartel chess. So this is really interesting. According to the DEA, Cardo Jalisco Nervin and their top boss, El Mencho, might be seeking to capitalize on the Sinaloa Cartel civil war that's been playing out for the last year between the factions of the sons of El Chapolos Chapitos, but also the faction loyal to Ismael Elmio Zada. Whichever the outcome, experts are calling this the most dangerous cartel partnership in modern Mexican history because it doesn't just consolidate two empires, it fuses their methods. CGNG's militarized terror with the Chapitos' global network. Together, they now control most of Mexico's western spine. And as the Chapitos fortified their alliance with El Meno's army, Elmo Zambada began building one of his own. Elmo Zambada was never known for theatrics, where the Chapitos flaunted power online. Mayo's world was silence, secrecy, and patience. So when his trusted Lieutenant Mito Flaco resurfaced in a leaked report forming an alliance with one of Mexico's most feared paramilitary groups, it marked a new era in bloodshed. Cartel, or CDN, rose from the ashes of Los Zadas, the original beheading cartel. Its fighters are trained, disciplined, and ruthless, many with military backgrounds. By partnering with them, La Maiza gained strength and a small but terrifying army. Those 200 Chuckies are elite Sicarios who specialize in urban warfare. The CDN Maiza coalition now dominates the Northeast, clashing with Chapatos and CJNG forces. Reports from Durango and Culiacan describe drone attacks on rival camps and car bombs detonating near rural roads. On a dirt road lie the bodies of two men. They were found at daybreak. Why they were killed isn't known, but people are being murdered across Culiacan every day as this gang war intensifies. And what politicians avoid talking about, civilians are paying the price like never before. Entire villages are evacuating after nights filled with explosions. Homes burn, livestock scatter, and families hide in irrigation ditches, praying not to be seen. And through all this carnage, one man has been watching, not from the mountains, but from Washington, because every bomb and every headless body gives Donald Trump more ammunition for his next move. When an anonymous Sinaloa Cartel leader appeared on CNN, masked and sitting in a black SUV, his words cut through the chaos. Do you think what President Trump has been doing has been making your job tougher? Oh yeah, yes, but it's becoming more difficult, you think? Yeah, Trump's crackdown, warships off Venezuela, border strikes, and the infamous Operation Hydra was supposed to crush cartels. Instead, it cornered them by labeling CJNG and Sinaloa as foreign terrorist organizations. Trump gave the U.S. military new powers to hit targets without Mexico's permission. Drone footage later confirmed strikes on boats, smuggling precursors from China across the Pacific. Early September, President Trump revealed that the U.S. military killed 11 people in a drug-carrying boat off the coast of Venezuela days after deploying warships to the coast of the South American country. But those strikes didn't end trafficking like the U.S. government promised. For now, they just scattered it. Cut off from traditional roots, the cartels merged, split, and evolved, blaming each other for U.S. leaks. Trump's pressure campaign made the cartels desperate, and desperate cartels fight harder, not smarter. Every hit from Washington now births a new alliance and a bloodier retaliation. Here's where Chapitos' latest video comes in again, and here's why. It's a direct threat to Trump, too. The September 21st execution wasn't just about killing rivals. It was a performance for Washington. 6 men forced to confess on camera, then on film. That's the Chapitos way of proving they still ruled Sinaloa despite Trump's military crackdowns in U.S. drones overhead. Propaganda has become the new front line. The Chapitos flood Telegram with interrogation clips. Liza counters with drone footage of their own raids. There is pressure. There is surveillance. Before you could get the product out because there were agreements with the authorities, but now you can't. Now you want to move something and suddenly you bump into a convoy. The narco battles of the past have morphed into something darker. Trump strikes might have hit their targets, but they also scattered the hornet's nest, and every new move from Washington now sends shockwaves, rippling deeper into Mexico's war. Mexico's cartel map is no longer divided by drugs, but by power. On one side, CGNG and Los Chapitos. On the other, CDN and Llama. 2 super alliances are carving the country from coast to coast. That expansion is staggering. Cartels now run illegal mines, sell stolen crude, oil across the Texas border, and launder cash through crypto and beachfront property. The DEA calls them global players in organized crime. They're exporting thousands of tons of crude oil into the U.S. to be refined, and certain U.S. refineries are buying it. Now, the DEA reports Mayo is making $30 billion a year. $30 billion a year. Of course, you're going to push it to the max. They're going to expand across every continent, recruit as many people as possible, and diversify their revenue into every possible stream. For ordinary Mexicans, though, none of this feels like strategy or policy. It's daily survival under a storm that's swallowing everything. Families are being displaced by the thousands. Schools are closing, and small towns once known for farming are now ghost zones. The streets of Calacan are virtually deserted. These are main roads in the center of a big city. People are too scared to go out. It's as simple as that. The scale of suffering has become impossible to measure. People are disappearing by the hundreds every day, while the U.S. government blows up narcotics labs and calls it progress. Both factions keep invoking Sinaloa as their banner, but every clash strips another piece of it away. Whole regions that once fed the country are now military zones ruled by whoever has the last drone in the sky. The institutions meant to protect civilians are bankrupt or infiltrated, and mayors sign deals just to stay alive. So will Trump respond to the faction's horrific taunt videos? And will that snowball even further?